Welcome to SDH's coverage of what's going on in England. Welcome to another round of Prem and Proper here. It's going to be another packed show as we take you through the weekend that was and get you ready for the weekend that will be. As always, we get our contributors here at Prem and Proper getting you ready for the weekend through their respective prisms. It is Drew Dickinson with the 3D, the Drew Dickinson diatribe with a little help from Joey Styles, and Madison Cruz comes in, and she cruises through the Prem with her look at everything Newcastle and what she's expecting over the next 7 days or so. But as we are here, no dilly, no dally zone. We'll go back before we go forward and go over what happened in the last 7 days on the field. Specifically in league, we all know about what happened. And Drew will definitely let you know what happened with Manchester United in European competition as we saw what was going on there. Whoo, boy. And Drew will have that for you in the 3D coming up. So last week in the Premier League, going through everything, it was a very, very busy Saturday. Early start, Manchester United with a 1-0 win over Fulham. They needed it at a plus 137. Sheffield United with a win at the death on a penalty at a plus 315. First win of the year for Paul Heckingbottom and the Blades to work their way out of the relegation scrap at a plus 315. Manchester City put 6 on Bournemouth. Big day for Jeremy Doku at a minus 1,000. Everton and Brighton drew at ones on a plus 261. Crystal Palace beat Burnley by the final of 2-0 at Turf Moor to plus 135. Brentford in a fantastic back and forth, probably the match of the day. If you're looking for offense, Brentford knocked off West Ham by the final of 3-2 at a plus 114. Newcastle, if you're looking for not offense, beat Arsenal by the final of 1-0 at a plus 181. Big win for Nottingham Forest, scoring early and then following that up with a brace. Forest over Aston Villa on your Sunday for the early match at a plus 294, knocking off Aston Villa. And then Luton Town and Liverpool. Luton Town had the lead in the 80th minute, couldn't quite hang on. Great moment from Luis Diaz. Drew will give you his thoughts on that coming up as well. After 13 days, Luis Diaz's father has been released. Great news on that front. So Luton Town got their first big point of the season, almost had 3, ended up with 1 at a plus 673. Then Chelsea put 4 on Tottenham in a game that finished with 9 players for Spurs. And there's a great piece that we will probably run in short order with Rio Ferdinand and Ange Postecoglou about Ange and his philosophy. Great 2 minutes of content. We'll probably run that coming up in short order here on Prem and Proper. So now that sets up the standings and how things are here in the Prem after match week 11. Manchester City on top. They've won 3 in a row after losing 2 in a row. 9-0-2 on the year at 27 points of goal difference. Twice that of Spurs, who are at 26 now with their first loss of the season. And they are at 26 points in second. Liverpool at 24 points ahead of Arsenal in goals scored. Identical record, 7-3-1. Identical goal difference at 14. They've scored 24 goals to Arsenal's 23. That's how tight it is right there at 3 and 4. Villa currently 5th at 22 points, having their 4-match unbeaten string snapped with the loss. They're at 22. Newcastle 6th at 20, alternating wins and draws over the last 5. Brighton, having drawn 3 of their last 5. Once again, remember, they're battling European competition for the first time in club history. 18 points ahead of Manchester United on goal difference. Manchester United is 8th. Brentford at 16 points. They've won 3 on the spin. Things seem to have settled into place for Thomas Frank and the Bees. They are in 9th. Chelsea ahead of Crystal Palace on goal difference at 15 points, gives you 10 and 11. West Ham lost 3 in a row. They are at 4-2-5. They're at 14 points. They are in 12th. Doesn't look like David Moyes is going to get his contract renewed. See what happens about the season in general. So we'll see what happens there. Nottingham Forest, I think American Thanksgiving was the time on the calendar when Forest won their 3rd match of the year last year. They're already at 3-4-4, 13 points. They're in 13th place, and they've hit each column once in their last 3 games. Wolves at 12 points ahead of Fulham on goal difference. Everton is at 11 points. They are the last team with double-digit points so far at 3-2-6. Luton Town with the draw is out of the relegation zone on goal difference. They've scored 10 goals this year compared to Bournemouth's 9, but they are 7 goals ahead in goal difference. Bournemouth Burnley, Sheffield United, they are in the relegation zone. Figure it's going to be 4 or 5 teams, possibly 6, for those 3 spots to drop into the championship. Luton Town, 6 points, -11. They are out of the relegation zone currently. Bournemouth at -18 has lost 4 of 5. They did get their first win of the season 2 matches ago. Burnley's lost 4 in a row, 1-1 in 9. They've given up 27 goals in 11 matches. Sheffield United is at a -21, having given up 30 and scored 9 this season. So that sets up your Premier League after match week 11. So let's hear on some of the faces and places here in the Premier League before we get to the 3D and cruising through the Prem for this week. First off, let's start in the relegation fight with Burnley. Their head coach, Vincent Kompany, knew the expectations coming in. Here's what he was asked after right now having only won once in their first 11, courtesy of Burnley, their own self.
I didn't sign up in the job just for winning the league with 101 points. I knew that, I said it in the very first interview that I did, is if you sign up as a manager, there's only very few people that win. It's usually the same guy and he's bald like me, and yeah, but you have to put things into perspective. There's very few managers that win trophies, so you have to do it because you love the job, and part of it is making your team better and getting results. But sometimes doing the work to get to the results, there's something in that as well. You learn so much about people in moments where it's a little bit tough, and it's so valuable. The mistake people do is when it's tough, they close their eyes, they don't want to look anymore. But that's the moment where you take your information. That's the moment where you build your resilience, and you build that strength that then takes you to the next level. And I'll never ever let myself be drawn into a situation where I don't look at the context of this league either, and the context of who we are and where we are. And our goal is to outpunch and to be in that league. But there's no scenario in which it's not a tough road. So we stay calm but we put in the hours for sure.
Manchester United, and Drew has been keeping an eye on this. It's 6-0-5. It's either wins or losses. There is no middle for Erik ten Hag. Kaveh Salakal and our friends at Sky Sports News on the Sir Jim Ratcliffe update and how he plans on integrating, hopefully sooner rather than later.
Yeah, because you mentioned the takeover there. Bring us up to speed with that then, Kaveh. Where are we with that takeover?
Look, my understanding is that a date has now been set for the announcement that Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos will be buying a minority stake of around 25% in Manchester United. Now, that, of course, is a very, very significant development. I think what we will then see is the setting up of a football committee which will run the club. And on that committee will be Jim Ratcliffe, Dave Brailsford and also Joel Glazer. And, of course, they are going to have their hands full. A lot of decisions they'll be needing to make. One of them about Erik ten Hag's future, the future of infrastructure works on Old Trafford, what's going to happen in the January transfer window as well. But I think when it comes to the announcement of Jim Ratcliffe buying this stake, it is something that has to be choreographed pretty carefully at United. There were some suggestions that maybe there could be an announcement this week. I'm not sure about that. I think maybe it makes more sense to announce it during the international break. And of course, Sir Bobby Charlton's funeral is on Monday as well. So United have to think about that carefully as well. But it looks almost certain that Jim Ratcliffe will be moving into United very, very soon. And of course, he will have control of the football side of the operation, even though he'll only own 25% of the club.
And not to be outdone, on the seemingly Manchester United edition of Prem and Proper, the football show addressed what's been going on currently with Manchester United on the field.
United's overall form, though, Mark, I mean, goodness me, it doesn't make for good reading, does it?
No, it's a complete contrast to last season. They've now lost 9 games in all competitions. Last season, it took them 52 matches to lose that amount of games. This is recent seasons, the amount of games it's taken them to lose 9. You can see this season completely contrasts what you've seen in previous campaigns, despite Manchester United not being at their best. in 2016-17. It was on their 61st match that they lost 9 games. That was the season under Jose Mourinho when they won the Europa League and the League Cup. So you can see just how things are really not going to plan for Erik ten Hag. I guess really what's going wrong? Why are the great Manchester United being beaten so easily this season? And does this increase the pressure once again on Erik ten Hag? Zach and Henry, big question. Is he under pressure?
Yes, undoubtedly. I don't think that any Man United fan wants a change from a managerial level. I mean, there's not loads of options out there. But if we look at what's going on, really, we've touched on it before. It is a problem with their attackers not scoring enough goals. They create some chances, but they're not putting any away. Last season, what made them so effective is they were very direct. They would get the ball out to Rashford in particular, and they'd attack the wings hard and create their opportunities through there. This season, we've seen like barely any of them, their forward line are scoring goals at all. Like Højlund, he's been brilliant in the Champions League, hasn't yet to find the net in the Premier League. If you're not scoring goals, if you're not making teams have to sort of come after you, then it's really difficult. And at the moment, they're getting overrun in midfield as well. Like the midfield is not settled at all. They're conceding a really high level of shots compared to where they previously were. So it's just not going right at either end of the pitch, and that just breeds sort of problems throughout the side.
Well, you mentioned the attack as well, and to a degree, I think they've had a lot of injuries. And people talk about the way Erik ten Hag wants to play his football and the way Ajax used to play that. When you take out someone who is so key to it in Martinez, who's out for a long, long time, might not be back now, obviously, till December time, taking out him, taking out Luke Shaw, you're putting a right back playing left back, you're the kind of backup left back that you bring in, Sergio Reguilón comes in, he gets injured. There is a little bit of unluckiness that's going with it. Obviously, a lot of clubs have to deal with injuries. You see Chelsea, you see Arsenal, Man City, Liverpool, everyone has to deal with injuries. However, a lot of the way, especially nowadays, football is played is with that back line, having centre-backs and defenders that can pass the ball out of the back. And a lot of that is also by having consistency and having these guys play week in, week out. And right now, Manchester United do not have that. And so I think at times it is a little bit harsh to maybe criticise the way they are playing because they're kind of having to deal with what they can do with at the moment. But yeah, I think it's a bit of a mix of everything. Can't score goals and can't consistently have the same lineup out.
They can't even get draws at the moment. It's just win or lose.
It's terrible days to be at work.
That's the problem, because that kind of seeps into the squad. I think that they look a little bit shell-shocked, in all honesty, and they got caught out in Copenhagen for that exact reason.
Speaking of the football show, they looked at the goalkeeping situation at Arsenal, comparing David Raya and Aaron Ramsdale.
We've looked at how the two goalkeepers have compared, though, in the Premier League this season. So Ramsdale started the first 4 matches in the league. Since then, Raya's been given the nod for the last 7. So we've got a decent sample size to look at now. And Raya is significantly up when it comes to his touches, which suggests he's been more utilised with the ball at his feet. But his passing accuracy is almost identical to Ramsdale, though Raya is up significantly when it comes to passes attempted and completed per 90 minutes. Now, there's a slight difference when it comes to the save percentage. Raya is up in that metric. One significant difference between the two, although he did make an error perhaps for the goal for Newcastle the weekend, Raya's ability to catch and punch away crosses into the box. But in general, I think when you look at this data set here and what we've seen with our own eyes in these opening 11 matches of the season, the jury is still out on just how successful that move has been from Mikel Arteta to dislodge Ramsdale with David Raya. We've looked at how the two goalkeepers...
Then our friends at Sky, Gary Neville, who has not been one ever to mince words, about the entire situation with VAR. Everybody getting up in arms. Gary Neville with a shot across the bow, once again, courtesy of our friends at Sky Sports.
Look, Liverpool got a really bad one here. It was a shocker. And they had every right to be annoyed. Jurgen Klopp had every right to be annoyed. I thought he handled it brilliantly. But then what we saw the day after was language being used in a statement like sporting integrity. We're going to assess our options. Replays were asked for. Come on. That's really dangerous stuff, I think it is. We can't go down that route. And then obviously after the game on Saturday at Newcastle, we saw Mikel Arteta really angry, disappointed, called it a disgrace. And yeah, ultimately I never want to see managers lose their emotion at the end of a game. But then for Arsenal Football Club to write that letter that they did last night and make that statement, honestly, it's pathetic. It's really poor. And I think the Premier League have to get a grip of it. We can't make a decision that, to be fair, could have been 50-50. All these decisions, to be fair, even some of them tonight. And Ange Postecoglou's doing his interview now. Udogie was stupid. He should have been sent off for me for that 2-footed lunge, because you shouldn't have to harm somebody with that challenge. That challenge is outlawed. It was outlawed 20 years ago, that one. That is the one that is unequivocally a red. And just because Raheem Sterling pulls his leg away at the last minute, he goes right for Raheem Sterling's leg and would have broke his leg if Raheem Sterling hadn't just seen it coming. Do we have to get Raheem Sterling basically cut in half for that to be a red card? That tackle should have been a red card. So Udogie had lost his head first half. Romero, it's his fourth time he's been sent off. So I think Postecoglou needs to go into the dressing room and question the sort of what would be composure and thought process of his two players. And I got sent off at times. And at times I thought, Gary, you've let yourself down. You've let your teammates down. And I would have owned that. I'm hoping that Udogie and Romero and the rest of the Tottenham players and squad are not thinking, we've been hard done to, we've been done by VAR, we've been done by the referee. No, you've not. You've been done tonight by your own stupidity. You were special in that first 15 minutes. Your football was brilliant. We were purring over what Spurs were doing to Chelsea. Chelsea couldn't get anywhere near them. And then Udogie's challenge, for me, changed the whole game. It changed the whole course and direction of the match. So to me, Spurs have to own tonight everything that happened. Their positivity, their thrilling football, their high line, but they have to own their ill discipline as well. And I hope we're not going to go down that route of, let's send statements in and sort of blaming VAR. I don't think Ange Postecoglou is that type of manager.
So that sets up our contributors. Let's start things off with Drew Dickinson and this week's 3D, where I'm guessing he's going to talk a little Manchester United before he goes into the rest of the league.
Hey, yo. What's going on, everyone? My name is Drew Dickinson, and I am back with your weekly 3D. I was out last week, so just in case you're new, 3D is the Drew Dickinson diatribe, and I am coming in hot today. I'm frustrated. I'm angry. I'm just tired of it. I don't know when it's going to end. Manchester United in the Champions League has just become an absolute joke. I'll get to the squad here in a minute, but I want to start with the absolute embarrassment of the officiating crew, not just in the Manchester United game. Saw some stuff today in Europa League. It's just an absolute flipping joke. And I'm sick and tired of it. The Marcus Rashford red card was nothing short of ridiculous. All right. I mean, honestly, you watch it, and in that instance, there was absolute zero malice, zero intent. He was trying to use his body to shield the man and keep the ball on his foot. You see players do it all the time. I mentioned the Europa League. You saw Liverpool do it today. Literally the same thing happened, and they just received a yellow card. It's so frustrating. United, they're on cruise control. They're up 2-0 until the officials completely change the game. VAR is an absolute curse, because when you slow down the play, all right, you slow down that play, the red card of Marcus Rashford that he was issued by the official. Of course it looks awful. Anytime you slow down something like that, it's going to look bad. And that's where you kind of bring into question, how much footballing experience do these officials have? Anybody can go study, take a test, and get a referee badge. Okay. It's your grandpa, your dad who's coaching rec league soccer can go take the FIFA referee test and get certified to be an official. Obviously, I know it takes a little bit more to become a Premier League official, but all I'm saying is anybody can take a stinking test and pass the test and get certified. We'll keep going. The handball from Raphael Varane and Harry Maguire, the simon, one after the other. To me, handball for sure. I mean, plain as day. But that's not the point. All right? It's not consistent. The way the handballs have been called all year haven't been those. Each and every game, it's just something new, and the consistency, it's becoming awfully frustrating. And I swear to you, I don't mean to gripe. Obviously I'm a United fan. Of course, it's no secret. But everyone has eyes. I mean, Twitter was absolutely on fire. All ex-United players, ex-Liverpool players, current players, pundits. Nobody was in agreement that it was a red card, except for the officials. And it was the VAR official, the most, because the on-field official didn't call it. It was apparently he had message come down from the VAR. But back to the handball from Varane and Maguire. To me, obvious it was a handball, but I just don't think the consistency should have been the consistency of all season. Play on. Let's bring this up. Towards the end of the game, right before Rasmus Højlund, easy for me to say, was subbed off, he got an absolute straight elbow right to the face. It would have and should have been the second yellow card for that player. But of course, it's not Copenhagen United. It's Copenhagen. So they didn't even look at it. It just, like I said before, we need some consistency from the officiating crew, even from the VAR all the way down to the officials on the field. Now, on to those stinking players. Gosh dang it. I tell you what, I've never seen so many weak-minded millionaires, a mentality lacking group that is, 9 or 10 of the starting 11 for Manchester United. It's just, up 2-0, then up 3-2, all in the same game, and still find a way to bottle it. I like to point out defensive errors. Diogo Dalot completely lost sight of his man and, cost us again. That's the second time in a week that he has been ball watching and cost us goals. And I'm unsure of the status of Raphael Varane for not just the rest of the season, but as a United player going forward once the season ends. I don't see the same in him that I saw in him last season. And obviously that could be due to missing his tag team partner, Lisandro Martinez. But you're a world-class player getting paid a lot of money. You should perform at the top of your level. Ten Hag last night coached an absolute amazing game, from the structure, the pressing formations, me personally, I'll be honest, I questioned the starting 11. But I appreciate what he said. If you want to figure out a way to get some camaraderie and get some consistency within your squad, you have to start playing consistently. You have to start playing with the same players and keep that same 11, maybe 2-3 guys off the bench. And I appreciated that. Like I said, arguably one of the best games that he's coached all season. And I do think the best game we've played all season. But this group has to become stronger mentally, or it will continue to be a very, very long season. We'll go back to last week, over the weekend. United, they needed yet another late-minute heroic individual effort, this time from Bruno Fernandes, to secure the 3 points. But it was yet again overshadowed by another horrible, horrible call from the officiating crew, this time in the English Premier League. You watch the play, you see the ball come over to McTominay, who scores, and then Harry Maguire, who wasn't even involved in the play, was called for obstructing and being offside. I'm so confused. Now it just seems, call me crazy, whatever. It just seems like they're looking for new rules and new ways to stick it to United. When is enough? Jurgen Klopp, ever since you said what you said, everything has changed. And I don't blame you, but I'm a little bit should be going your way, because the officials have really taken what you've said to heart, and it's ridiculous. But regardless of the officiating, this team, they have to figure out a way to play better. Erik ten Hag recently said in the last week that he doesn't expect Casemiro or Lisandro Martinez to be back until after Christmas. We just saw Johnny Evans. He was injured and had to leave the Champions League game, which had Raphael Varane come in, and you kind of want to think, if Johnny Evans stayed in the game, him and Maguire have formed kind of a really nice little partnership. Who knows? I'll tell you what, this team should be called Injury United this season, because I think that's the 17th player now with Evans going out injured. It's freaking insane. But Saturday morning, United are back at Old Trafford after spending a couple of days in Denmark for the Champions League. They're back at Old Trafford. They welcome Luton Town, who are coming off of one of their best games, in the last, 2 decades, where they drew at home against Liverpool. Last minute goal from Luis Diaz, gotta mention, bless his heart. mother kidnapped a couple weeks ago. She's been rescued. And after 12 days, just today, his father finally was released from his kidnappers. I just couldn't even imagine that. So shout out to Luis Diaz for wanting to get back into training. Klopp picked him and put him out there in the latter part of that game, and boom, hits the equalizer, saved a point for Liverpool. United will they're going to look to keep up that first half momentum from that first 40 minutes in the Champions League. They just played phenomenal. If they do that, they will, to me, no doubt secure 3 more points for the season. And, if you keep looking at week 12 here, match week 12, schedule, it's not very sexy, like not at all, with the exception of first place Manchester City traveling to Stamford Bridge to take on the Blues, who are currently 10th place in the Premier League. I don't know if you guys remember, it was not too long ago, 3 days ago, Monday, they played, they just recently played Tottenham and absolutely destroyed them 4-1. Nicholas Jackson had the hat trick. So Chelsea are going to look to keep up their winning ways, try and slow down Manchester City, who are just flying. Erling Haaland is an absolute alien goal-scoring machine. Scored 2 more in the Champions League over the week. Saw Manchester City defeat Young Boys 3-0 at home. What else we got this weekend in the Premier League? Oh, Arsenal, who are coming off that 1-0 loss last week away at Newcastle. It was said today that the Premier League officiating crew voted, and it was a 4-1 vote that there was no foul, and the VAR and the officiating crew got it right for the Newcastle goal. And I saw somebody post on Twitter that, okay, I guess it's okay to shove someone in the back on purpose now. So just remember that. Arsenal are going to be looking to bounce back in a big way. They're playing Burnley at the Emirates at 10 a.m. on Saturday. Aston Villa, Fulham. I think it has potential to be a really good game. Unai Emery and his villains are just playing fantastic. I'm really enjoying Unai Emery back in the Premier League. Just going to be really, really, really exciting. Aston Villa, coming on strong here. What place are Villa in? I'll tell you real quick. Aston Villa, 5th place. They are just 5 points off the top of the league. Fantastic for Aston Villa. But we got Wolves welcoming Tottenham starting out the weekend. Then, of course, Man United welcoming Luton Town, Arsenal, Burnley, Crystal Palace, Everton, Bournemouth, Newcastle, Aston Villa, Fulham, Brighton, Sheffield United, which, has potential to be good as well. West Ham, Nottingham Forest, Chelsea, Manchester City, and Liverpool welcoming Brentford. But before we get out of here, got to talk about it. The bottom 3, as it stands right now, the bottom 3 is separated by, really the bottom 4. Luton Town are 17th, Bournemouth are 18th, Burnley sit 19th, and rounding out the 20th spot in the Premier League is Sheffield United. Really, really interesting. Like I said, all 4 of those teams are separated by 2 points. I know that's two the 6 points, and the bottom 2 have 4 points. Who's gonna stay up? Who knows? Plenty of season left. Well, that is going to do it for me and the 3D. Thank you so much for listening, and we will talk to yous next week. Cheers, everyone. Enjoy the weekend. And again, like every week, one more time, and before I get out of here, I want to throw in thank you so much again to the Soccer Down Here crew for having me on. Should have mentioned that earlier, but I didn't. Oh, well. Again, thank you guys so much for listening. We will see you next week. Enjoy the weekend.
And then we go cruising through the Prem and catch up with Maddy and her thoughts about her favorite club, Newcastle.
Hello, everybody. My name is Madison Cruz, and I am the fellow Newcastle fan here at Soccer Down Here, and I'm excited to be included in this week's episode of Prim and Proper. So giving a little bit of an update on Newcastle, we sadly lost to Dortmund 2-0 in the UEFA Champions League game this Tuesday. Unfortunately, I was not able to sit down and watch the game, but I got to watch the highlights after I finished working the men's basketball game for KSU, and I mean, it's kind of what everybody has been saying online. You know, we haven't had the same intensity that we have had in other games. You know, compared to the game against Arsenal where we won 1-0, it lacked the intensity that we're so used to seeing from this Newcastle side. We weren't playing like the team that currently has 27 goals. 27 goals in the Premier League. We are second compared to Newcastle, who has 28 by 1 goal. That's crazy to me. That is very much, I don't even know what to say at that point. But I mean, we're now 4th in Group F in the Champions League, and, you know, our kind of run there is very much diminishing, which is very unfortunate because I thought, you know, at least going in from last season to this season, I really thought that there'd be a good chance for that. But, you know, these things happen. I'm excited to see how the Champions League continues to play out. That's going to be fun to watch. Now, going into this weekend, Newcastle will be facing off against Bournemouth Saturday at 12:30 p.m. Now, a bit of a fun fact that I found out when I was kind of going through a bit of the recap going into this game is that Newcastle hasn't lost to Bournemouth in their last 8 meetings. Now, Newcastle is currently 6th in the Premier League standings, and injuries are still plaguing Newcastle, and I think that fans already know is that Callum Wilson suffered tightness in his hamstring in the Champions League defeat against Dortmund, and he will likely not be in the lineup this weekend going into that. So another huge loss for Newcastle fans this weekend, but hopefully we get to see them kind of get out of this slump and, you know, come back from this loss and hopefully secure a win this weekend. So I'm looking forward to that game. I hope you all are too, and I'm excited to hopefully continue to bring you all some fun updates about Newcastle because I don't get to talk about Premier League a lot, especially with some of my other friends. A lot of them don't really follow Premier League as much as I do, and it's a lot of fun. I love watching this league. I think it's so fascinating and so fast-paced and just so different than kind of the soccer that you see in other places, and I love it. So I'm hopeful and that I'm going to get to bring you guys some more content for this, and also shout out to my Newcastle fans. If you want to continue talking to me about Newcastle, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at MadisonCruz7. This is a shameless plug for me, but hey, if you want to continue talking about soccer, I'd love to talk about soccer with all of you. So I hope you guys got some new updates about Newcastle, and I hope to see you guys next time.
And thanks to the two of them every single week here at Prem and Proper as they let you know what they think about what's going on in the First Division in England. All right, that sets up the weekend that will be. It is a 50-50 weekend before we head into the international break. And it is on your Saturday, early start, Wolves and Spurs. Wolves are a plus 213. Spurs a favorite on the road at a plus 123. Without Van de Ven, without James Maddison, it will be interesting to see what the lineup looks like for Spurs. 10 o'clock, 3 matches. Arsenal, a big favorite at home, no surprise, against Burnley at a minus 526. Burnley is north of plus 1525. Crystal Palace hosting Everton. Interesting battle. Crystal Palace at Selhurst Park is a plus 146. Your draw is a plus 224. Everton, who seems to have found their way recently under Sean Dyche, is a plus 216. Manchester United, Luton Town, we mentioned that one. And what happens after what happened to Manchester United in the midweek against Copenhagen? Luton Town comes to town, north of plus 800. Manchester United a minus 294. But what happens? We'll see. Late game at the Vitality. It is Bournemouth and Newcastle. Eddie Howe returning home. Newcastle a minus 133 on the road, a plus 308 on the draw. Bournemouth at home is a plus 366. So, Sunday, we have 5 matches, 4 of them at 9 o'clock Eastern Time. Villa at home, big favorite against Fulham at a minus 169. Fulham a plus 479. Brighton at the Amex hosting Sheffield United. Could be a get-right game for Brighton at a minus 400. Sheffield United north of plus 1075. Liverpool hosting Brentford. Liverpool a big favorite at a minus 233 after their match with Toulouse in the midweek. They could use some get-right. Would Brentford be that individual or the club, considering that there's more than one person going up against Liverpool at Anfield. So Liverpool at a minus 233, your draws a plus 423, Brentford a plus 587, and the composite courtesy of our friends at Odds Portal. Nottingham Forest on the road at a plus 311 goes to West Ham. West Ham's a minus 111, could be another get-right game for somebody. Draws a plus 281. And the last matchup on your Sunday, Chelsea hosting Manchester City. Manchester City favored at a minus 137. Chelsea a plus 418. Your draw is a plus 286. And then they don't pick things back up until the 25th, 26th, and 27th of November after Thanksgiving here in America. So we've got a lot of stuff to talk about in the international window as well. So once again, thanks to Maddy, ladies first. We believe in chivalry here. And thanks to Drew for the 3D and cruising through the Prem. As always, that's another round of Prem and Proper. Everybody, enjoy the games this weekend. Enjoy the international window. We'll keep an eye on it. And thanks for hanging out with us here on the SDH Network for another round of Prem and Proper. Enjoy your games. Enjoy your teams. We'll be back with you next week.